said that the first step was there was like and they would have to do would be her.
Cassie Ventura's shocking testimony in court has left the entire room speechless. She revealed horrifying details about how Diddy allegedly tortured her in a dark room, a twisted setup known as the freak-offs, which consisted of 4 disturbing stages. As she described everything, Diddy sat sweating, shaking, and completely powerless. In this video, we'll break down Cassie's gut-wrenching statements, Diddy's visible reaction, and how this explosive testimony may change the course of the entire case. From disturbing fetishes to physical abuse, everything you're about to hear has been admitted under oath, and it's darker than you ever imagined.
Now, step 2, she alleges, is that's when all the baby oil comes out.
Cassie told the court that Diddy organized these freak-offs like full-scale productions. He controlled everything: lighting, scent, music, and the environment. These weren't wild parties. They were meticulously planned horror scenes. The first stage was descriptive foreplay, where Diddy forced Cassie to narrate every act in extreme detail, almost like reading him an X-rated audiobook. Cassie said he would listen quietly, obsessed, needing to hear everything as if it was a show scripted just for him. It wasn't about pleasure, it was about domination, control, and turning sex into a disturbing performance.
He says that, it was very well choreographed. Like, it was almost, when she was describing it, I was like, it sounds like he was shooting a music video.
Executive producing.
No, for real.
Cassie explained that each freak-off followed a 4-stage ritual. Diddy micromanaged it all: mood lighting, wardrobe, even scents. Stage 1 involved graphic storytelling, where Cassie was forced to narrate acts in detail. Stage 2 was the actual physical interaction. Stage 3 included Diddy covering her in baby oil, something she said happened almost every time. The 4th and final stage was filled with unmentionable acts so disturbing that Cassie hesitated to speak. She made it clear, these were not consensual experiences. Diddy was in full control, treating it like a twisted film he was both directing and watching.
So that first step was the descriptive foreplay, and then step 2 was the touch.
According to Cassie, Diddy got his pleasure from hearing her describe in vivid detail what she was doing with male escorts. He would sit silently while she spoke, demanding a play-by-play like a live podcast from hell. Cassie said it made her feel humiliated, but Diddy needed it to feel in charge. He wanted power over her mind, not just her body. For him, it wasn't just voyeurism, it was psychological warfare. Every word she said was another link in the chain he used to control her. This was no kink. It was obsession wrapped in abuse.
And they would have to do it would be her and the escort, and she would have to talk out loud and describe what she was seeing.
Cassie testified that Diddy had thousands of bottles of baby oil, no exaggeration. When the police raided his home, they confirmed it. Shelves lined with personal lubricants like a freakish warehouse. According to Cassie, baby oil was always a part of the sessions. Diddy would pour it on her, drench her body, and turn the experience into what she called a slippery nightmare. It wasn't sensual, it was bizarre, dehumanizing, and always performed on his terms. Cassie said it felt like she was being turned into an object, just a body for him to manipulate.
They would oil up so much. That was like a big thing for Puff, allegedly. Like, you had to be oiled, that every 5 minutes they were like just re-oiling, because
he wants you to look like a shiny suit.
Yeah, because it glistens, and I guess it's the sexiness of...
One of the most disturbing moments came when Cassie said Diddy would sometimes make her collect a male escort's fluids and rub them on his chest. Sometimes, she said, he wanted it on his nipples. The court was stunned. Cassie admitted it made her sick, but she felt she had no choice. Saying no wasn't an option. The courtroom fell silent. This wasn't just abuse. It was humiliation on a whole new level. Diddy sat frozen while Cassie described these acts. It was the moment where you could feel the energy shift. Everyone realized just how dark this case really was.
Doing it because she was so in love, and she said she didn't want him to go and do it with anybody else. Now, step 4 was the actual intercourse, where they would engage in.
Cassie testified about a horrific moment when an escort urinated on her. When asked why she didn't stop it, she said she was intoxicated and felt helpless with 2 men standing over her. What could I do? She asked the courtroom. Sometimes, Diddy would step in and stop it, but most of the time, he watched. Even when she was on her period, Cassie said, he forced her to participate in these sessions. She described it as degrading, inescapable, and emotionally damaging. Her voice cracked as she spoke, revealing years of silent trauma bottled inside.
After they would finish, the escorts would have a happy ending, and Puff would make her take that happy ending and rub it on his nipple, and then they would engage in whatever they were going to do, just Cassie and Puff allegedly.
So his man milk on Puff.
That's what Cassie is alleging, that she that Puff liked her to rub it on his chest.
When
and
asked
on his
why
nipple.
she didn't walk away, Cassie said, "Because I loved him. I was jealous. I didn't want another girl taking my place." She confessed that she knew Diddy's darkest desires and didn't want to lose the emotional control she had. She showed the court dozens of texts where she tried to refuse, but Diddy would gaslight her, calling her boring, predictable, and not enough. Cassie admitted she was mentally stuck, trapped by love and manipulation. She wasn't just a victim of physical abuse. She was caught in a psychological nightmare that blurred the lines between pain and love.
And we've heard this story, but she said that because we heard before that there were extra linens because
It's dookie on the sheets.
So what she said was she was actually made to have freak offs during her period, and so there would be blood on a lot of the sheets.
A male escort took the stand and claimed that when he first met Cassie and Diddy, he was told it was a birthday surprise. Cassie herself allegedly invited him, saying her husband does special things for her. He described how Cassie asked him to get intimate on the couch while Diddy sat in the corner, silently watching and pleasuring himself. The escort said Diddy didn't speak, but he recognized his voice later. This testimony shifted the case. It introduced the possibility that Cassie may have participated willingly at times, adding a complicated layer to an already dark story.
Secret of these voyeurisms and freak-offs that he liked to do, she didn't want another woman coming in and swooping up in her place. And a lot of times she alleges, and we saw actual text messages they brought up where she tried to tell him she didn't want to do a freak.
Shock hit the courtroom when the male escort said it wasn't Diddy who asked him to perform a degrading act, but Cassie. He claimed she initiated it, contradicting Cassie's account. The prosecution tried to clarify, but the escort stood firm. This was Cassie's request, not Diddy's. The revelation was huge. If true, it could weaken Cassie's narrative of complete victimhood and suggest shared responsibility. But legal experts say one contradiction doesn't erase a pattern. Still, it gave the defense ammo to argue that Cassie wasn't as powerless as she portrayed, at least not all the time.
Literally, probably like 15 minutes before that, the prosecutors were like, Cassie is going to tell you that Diddy allegedly made this escort urinate on her. That there's an escort sitting in front of us, sworn in on the stand, saying, no, Cassie.
The escort shared a moment that made the entire room pause. He said after seeing Diddy violently beat Cassie, he was never the same. "It broke me," he told the court. "I couldn't even get aroused after that." He claimed he witnessed Diddy slap Cassie so hard it shook the room. This moment supported Cassie's abuse claims. Even though parts of his testimony contradicted hers, the physical violence seemed undeniable. His emotional reaction appeared real, offering chilling confirmation that what Cassie described wasn't just exaggeration. It was trauma, and it was visible.
Hard anymore because he went to Cassie's house. They got comfortable with him, came to Cassie's house. When he was there, Cassie and Diddy was in the room. He was outside in the living room. Diddy comes out and goes off on Cassie, like allegedly beats her up bad because she took a long time to come back in the room to him. And he said after he saw that, that was his first time seeing her get.
Though the escort's testimony didn't perfectly align with Cassie's, he admitted that Diddy was physically abusive. The courtroom sat in stunned silence as he recalled Diddy's rage, the red marks on Cassie, and the fear he felt. Even some of Diddy's own friends in the audience seemed shaken. The defense tried to discredit the escort, but his trembling voice and raw emotion couldn't be ignored. This wasn't just about sex games anymore. It was about power, violence, and emotional warfare. And now more than one person was willing to stand up and say it out loud.
Puff was coming. He came, he's looking for her, can't find her. He grabs his gun, 2 of his staff members. One of the staff members said that she did not want to go, and allegedly she was forced to go. So they labeled that kidnapping. And they went to this man's house looking for Cassie. In this rage, Cassie wasn't there, and it was like, oh hell.
Diddy is facing life-changing charges: sex trafficking, racketeering, and transporting for the purpose of prostitution. If found guilty, he could face life in prison. The trial began in May 2025 in a New York federal court, and prosecutors came, armed with damning evidence, text messages, witness testimony, and even surveillance footage. They painted Diddy as a man driven by control and obsession, someone who didn't just abuse Cassie physically, but orchestrated entire rituals to break her spirit. Cassie isn't the only one accusing him, but her story is the one pulling back the curtain on a decades-long horror show.
It was own up to everything. They're like, look, he was angry. He can't control his anger. He, might have abused drugs and been a horrible boyfriend. Y'all gonna hear text messages and audios that make him sound like a horrible person, and that he may have been all of the most horrible things you could think about him when it comes to how he dealt with the women in his life.
Prosecutors revealed that when Cassie began seeing another man, Diddy lost control. He grabbed a gun and drove with 2 employees to confront the man at his house. This wasn't love. It was madness. The defense didn't deny Diddy's aggression. Instead, they argued it wasn't criminal. They claimed the only reason the case is in court is because of the sex trafficking charges. Otherwise, it would have been just another toxic relationship. But prosecutors say that's the point. It wasn't just toxic, it was criminal. This was a man willing to use force to maintain control, no matter the cost.
We wouldn't be arguing today if he was charged with abuse in a certain way. We wouldn't be arguing today, but because he's charged with everything else, the sex trafficking and all these other things, we're here because he's not guilty.
Diddy's lawyers shocked everyone when they said, he's a bad person, but he's not a criminal. The room froze. They admitted his actions were ugly, but argued they didn't break the law. That's like saying, sure, I stole the candy, but I didn't rob the store. Their strategy seemed to be about damage control. Acknowledge Diddy's behavior without owning the criminal intent. But prosecutors weren't having it. They reminded the jury, this isn't about cheating or partying, it's about coercion, manipulation, and sex trafficking. Cassie's story isn't about heartbreak, it's about a system of abuse wrapped in luxury and silence.
Team is saying,
so that's why the video matters to the court.
Diddy's team is saying no, because freak-offs weren't a thing. You guys were consensually engaging in sexual acts, but that's not even what happened.
In the final blow, prosecutors played hotel surveillance footage from March 2016. The video showed Diddy chasing Cassie down a hallway, grabbing her by the neck and slamming her to the ground. It was silent, but it spoke volumes. This was the visual proof jurors needed. No speculation, no rumors, just hard evidence of violence. Diddy's team tried to say it was a lover's quarrel, but the video said otherwise. You could see Cassie's fear, Diddy's rage, and the brutal force of it all. After all the stories, the text messages, and the testimony, this tape may be the nail in the coffin.
He starts getting him. He's like, okay, so you mentioned something about Cassie having a purple eye when you got off of the elevator. Why wasn't that in your incident report? The man said, well, I didn't think that was significant to put in. Brian still said, so you thought it was significant today, but it wasn't significant 9 years ago? So then he says, you said that you saw a man inside of their hotel room. Why wasn't that in your incident report? Did you ask the man his name? Did you talk to him? And he was like, no.